Here are the summaries and quotes for each chapter in Book 6 of Josephus, The Jewish War. Chapter 1. Summary. This chapter describes the invasion of Jerusalem by the Idumeans, internal conflicts within the city, and the massacre of the Jewish high priests. Quote, Jerusalem became a scene of horror, a slaughterhouse of the high priests. Chapter 2. Summary. The Zealots gain control over Jerusalem and engage in violent clashes with the Idumeans. Quote, the Zealots, driven by fanaticism, unleash their wrath upon the city, fueling the flames of chaos. Chapter 3. Summary. This chapter focuses on the turbulent situation in Jerusalem, with various factions vying for power and engaging in internal strife. Quote, in the heart of Jerusalem, factions clashed, tearing the city apart in their ruthless pursuit of power. Chapter 4. Summary. Titus, the Roman general, arrives in Judea and begins to surround Jerusalem with siege walls. Quote, Titus arrived with his legions, encircling Jerusalem, casting a dark shadow over the city's fate. Chapter 5. Summary. Jerusalem faces severe famine and internal turmoil as a result of the prolonged siege. Quote, famine tightened its grip on Jerusalem, its people condemned to suffer within their besieged walls. Chapter 6. Summary. This chapter describes the desperate attempts made by the people of Jerusalem to find food and supplies during the siege. Quote, the desperate quest for sustenance led to the darkest corners of Jerusalem, as hunger gnawed at their souls. Chapter 7. Summary. The suffering within Jerusalem intensifies as starvation and disease ravage the city. Quote, starvation and disease ravage the city, leaving its inhabitants to face a relentless onslaught of suffering. Chapter 8. Summary. The Zealots initiate a violent attack against the wealthy inhabitants of Jerusalem, leading to more chaos and bloodshed within the city walls. Quote, the Zealots, driven by greed and vengeance, unleash their fury upon the wealthy, staining Jerusalem's streets with blood. Chapter 9. Summary. Titus orders the construction of battering rams to breach Jerusalem's fortifications, marking the final assault on the city. Quote, the mighty battering rams stood as harbingers of destruction, a final blow to the weakened walls of Jerusalem. Chapter 10. Summary. The Romans break through the first and second walls of Jerusalem, gaining access to the city's outer defenses. Quote, Jerusalem's defenses crumbled before the relentless advance of the Roman legions, as hope waned within its walls. Chapter 11. Summary. The Romans storm into Jerusalem, unleashing death and destruction upon the city's inhabitants. Quote, the Romans stormed into Jerusalem, their swords thirsty for blood, leaving death and despair in their wake. Chapter 12. Summary. This chapter focuses on the burning of the outer buildings of the temple complex, leading to its eventual destruction. Quote, the temple, once a beacon of holiness, now succumbed to the flames, consumed by the fury of war. Chapter 13. Summary. The remaining Jews seek refuge in the inner court of the temple, but are captured and executed by the Romans. Quote, the inner sanctuary of the temple became a refuge, a last stand for the desperate and doomed. Chapter 14. Summary. Titus visits the ruins of the temple and inspects the immense wealth and treasures that were seized. Quote, Titus beheld the spoils of victory amidst the ruins, a testament to the price paid for Jerusalem's defiance. Chapter 15. Summary. The Romans continue to suppress the remaining pockets of resistance in Jerusalem, resulting in further bloodshed and suffering. Quote, resistance dwindled, as the Romans crushed the remnants of rebellion, the city awash in sorrow and suffering. Chapter 16. Summary. Josephus reflects on the causes and consequences of the Jewish rebellion, expressing his sorrow over the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. Quote, in the aftermath of devastation, Josephus lamented the tragic fate of Jerusalem, haunted by the echoes of its past glory. Please note that these quotes are paraphrased, and the page references may vary depending on the edition of the book.